Do you regret marrying her?
Absolutely. I said to her in one of my text messages to her, because she didn't respond because I kept asking her, why did you file for a divorce? And she wouldn't say anything.
He sat there, measured and calm, but every word out of his mouth felt like the aftermath of an emotional earthquake. When asked if he regretted marrying her, his answer came with a weight you could feel through the screen. Absolutely. It wasn't the kind of regret you hear tossed around in celebrity gossip. This was raw, calculated, heavy. He wasn't guessing, he was certain. And what followed was less of an interview and more of an unravelling. A slow, methodical recounting of a man who felt he'd been blindsided by someone he once trusted implicitly. He called it a coup, not a breakup.
I tried to reach her mom. Her mom would not respond either. I later figured out this felt like a coup. I don't know if you're familiar with. I'm familiar. I say it because I'm from Nigeria, and that we were ruled at one point by the military, and so every so often when you want to change leadership, the president, you stage a coup.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. I was totally blindsided.
Not a falling out. A coup, the kind of betrayal that rewrites your entire reality overnight. He said he reached out to her. Again and again. Nothing. Silence. Even her mother, someone he thought might offer clarity, stayed quiet.
I was no member of her family, whether on the mother's side or on the father's side, reached out to me. And the only person I actually reached out to was her mom. And she didn't respond.
That silence, he says, was the loudest part. It was then that he started to realize this wasn't confusion. It was orchestration. He compared the experience to a $5 million rehab project. Cold, expensive, strategic, something to be flipped, improved, cashed out, and suddenly, a high-profile romance that once sparked headlines and social media frenzies began to sound like a carefully timed investment.
And so I essentially sent her a text message. I said this was a $5 million rehab project that I took on. She never.
One with emotional collateral damage. He said there were no conversations, no warnings, no, we need to talk. Just a legal filing, a clean cut, the kind that doesn't bleed until later. If you're drawn to real stories that pull back the curtain on fame, power, and the kind of betrayals that money can't shield you from, subscribe to the channel. There's more behind the headlines than you think, and we're just getting started. What makes this case so stunning is not just the emotional fallout, but the legal one. According to him, he'd seen it coming in hindsight. The sudden engagement, the DM while he was vulnerable, freshly separated from his last marriage.
From day one, for financial reasons. When I filed for divorce from my previous, ex-wife, she was in my DM praying for me. And I think I was in a vulnerable position at that time, and I entertained it.
He says it snowballed too quickly, 30 days from DM to engagement. In his own words, I was out of my goddamn mind. The mistake wasn't just emotional, it was financial. The prenup, now upheld by a judge, reportedly guarantees her $40,000 per month in alimony for a marriage that lasted just 14 months.
And so it just kind of snowballed from there. Getting engaged in 30 days, who does that? I was out of my goddamn mind to have done that. And of course, I'm paying dearly for it. That you receive $40,000 a month in alimony for the length of the marriage, which was 14 months.
She's allowed to stay in the home, all expenses paid, for up to 3 years. And if she wants to keep it permanently, she has to refinance and give him 50% of the equity.
Okay. She gets to stay in the house, all expenses paid, including the mortgage, for 36 months, up to 36 months. And if she chooses to own the home, she would have to refinance the property in her name and take a 50% equity. She would have to give me 50% equity in the home.
A deal he's now fighting tooth and nail in court. What stood out wasn't just the terms, it was his reaction. He didn't accept it. not quietly.
It's basically what I've held from day one about this case when I realized that I was targeted. I've had prenups in previous relationship, and I've honored those prenups without reservation.
He said he would challenge the decision all the way to the Supreme Court if necessary, because to him this wasn't a separation, it was a setup. And this wasn't the first prenup he'd ever signed, just the first one he's ever fought.
This time around, I've chosen to challenge in court all the way to the Supreme Court if I have to. This enforcement of the prenup is going to continue to receive legal challenges on the appeal front.
Okay.
But then, another twist. She claimed in court that she had paid child support for his children while he was in ICE custody. That revelation didn't just catch the public off guard, it caught him off guard too. He says he found out about it in the courtroom and immediately reached out to his ex-wife to confirm it. She told him yes, that his now ex had reached out and sent 2 payments of $2,500 in a single month.
She sent her 2 $2,500 payments in 1 month, and that was it. That didn't even necessarily cover anything. I heard for the first time in court that had happened, and I immediately texted my ex-wife asking her, did she receive any funds from Porsha? She said yes. Porsha reached out to her and offered to give those funds to her.
But to him, that wasn't charity. It was strategy, a performance. Not an act of generosity, but a carefully timed PR move to appear supportive in the courtroom and beyond.
In my opinion, it wasn't done in good faith. It was done to give a narrative in court or to the public that I paid Simon's I paid Simon's child support.
Did Porsha?
He says she didn't even have a personal relationship with his sons. That they spent time together as a family, sure, but his kids never developed any real bond with her. And to be clear, he says they didn't care who their father was dating. Their lives were stable before and after. 1 week on, 1 week off. No disruption, no attachment, just routine.
For?
Not particularly. My boys were with me for the last 5+ years. They've been with me 1 week on, 1 week off, and quite frankly, my kids don't care who daddy is married to or who daddy is dating, and she never developed any particular relationship with my kids. They came and we all did family things together, but there's not one particular child that she has a personal relationship with.
So when she allegedly texted him that her daughter missed him, he didn't reply. Not because he didn't care, but because he believed it was part of a pattern.
I don't have a relationship with her daughter.
He said women from past relationships had used their children to get back into his life, and he wasn't going to repeat that mistake. He believed she had second thoughts.
Simply because I've in the past, I found myself where when I separate from any of my exes with children, there's a tendency for them to use their children to get back at me. To try to come back into my life, and Porsha is no exception. She sent me a text telling me that her daughter misses me, and I didn't respond because
that at one point she realized she had made a mistake and tried to reconcile. But by then, he says, it was too late. He was done.
Because there was a concerted effort at some point that she realized she had made a mistake and wanted to reconcile. At that point, I was done.
This wasn't just a celebrity breakup. This was a story of power dynamics, emotional exposure, and legal warfare, all playing out beneath the polished surface of reality TV and Instagram reels. Behind the designer wardrobes and tropical vacations, it's a very different kind of drama. one where money, love, and silence are weapons. This video is based on the original interview analysis by the @Page6 YouTube page, and all footage referenced belongs to them. If this left you with questions, if you're wondering what really happened behind the scenes of one of the internet's most whirlwind romances, make sure you're subscribed. There's more to this story than the world has seen, and we're here to tell it.